Welcome back, everyone, to the next installment of Corpse Party Blood Drive. We have 2 of the 6 crystals we need to maybe solve this major problem. Of course, now we have a new mission. We just acquired the ability to enter the locker room in the pool area. That is back in the main building, so, well, shock of shocks, we're going to go back to the main building. They don't call me Lotus Genius Prince for nothing. Of course, I do have to remember where the entrance to the second building is. And in doing so, I ran so much I got tired. So there's that. Oh. Actually, this wasn't so bad. I was actually looking for the entrance to the second wing. That's why I was checking the door on the right. We're already in the second wing. Whoops. And we're back. Easy now. My god, this place is a disaster. So much pulsing flesh. This place really is getting worse and worse. I've said this before, but I do hope that by chapter 10, everything's just blood. Alright. Is this the place? Here we go. The door is boarded up tightly. Ah, yes. But, this then? Because the other one was boarded up too tightly. Oh boy. Have we ever been in the gym? This is quite the view.
なんか見たことあるような気がするな。ここ。
そう？前に来た時は体育館には来なかったと思うんだけど。
Yeah.
そうか。そうだよな。で、こりゃなんだ。
Ew.
こりゃまるで。
待って。
お？
下品なことは言わないでよ。
Yeah.
え？ソフトクリームっぽくね？妹が好きだよ。
That's kind of funny.
へえ、岸沼くんの妹さんってソフトクリーム好きなんだ。
ああ、それこそ冬でも食いたがるぐらいでよ。見てるこっちが寒くなるぜ。
Okay. That's pretty silly. Anyway. We saw a glowy, right?
見て、岸沼くん、上の方。
の？
きっとあそこに結晶があるのよ。私、登ってみる。
Remember, the first 2 crystals were protected by deadly traps, so,
あ？登るってお前。おい、無茶すんなよ。
なに？こう見えても私、小さな頃木登り得意だったんだから。ほら、この柱も硬くて丈夫そうだし。
yeah, just like the first 2 were a piece of cake, right?
にしてもだ。たく仕方ね。ほら、肩車してやっから。そうすりゃもう少し登りやすいとこに足がつくだろう。
肩車？
I wasn't sure I liked this idea, and my expression made those misgivings blatantly clear to Kishinuma.
なんだよ、その心底嫌そうな顔は。俺の肩に足をかけて乗ればいいだろう。
それならいい。
大丈夫か？
うん、あげて。
よし。
Okay. Alright, I can't fall off. Small favor. Still gotta keep climbing. I mean, makes sense, but just checking. Here we are. Now, where's the hard part?
よし。じゃあ降りてこいよ。
Kishinuma looked up at me, but quickly diverted his eyes when he realized he could easily see up my skirt.
しかし、アイコもミストもどこにもいねえな。
I let out a loud shriek, grabbing Kishinuma's attention. Not that it mattered, given our relative positions.
どうした？
Oh, God. More like these are way too many human hands. To hell with this. All of a sudden, I was surrounded by body parts, with hands and strands of hair comprising the bulk of them. What? Cheerful carnival music? Blaring from the gym's loudspeaker? Volume so high as to unpleasantly distort the sound. It was almost like an old record playing from a phonograph. Coupled with the corpses littering my path, the music was even more unsettling than it would have been to begin with. I was quickly losing my footing as the formerly solid pillar began to break down to a porous, almost sand-like substance. Am I just safe? I don't know, I seem to be safe. Oh. Oh. This is gonna be unpleasant. Yeah, help me, Sand began to pour into my mouth and nose, immediately preventing me from saying another word, or, more importantly, breathing. The more I tried to resist, the more the pillar pulled me in. The sand was now in my eyes and felt like it was seeping into my skull from there. Oh, God. The pain was absolutely unbearable. The weight of the material pushing against me quickly began cracking my ribs and collapsing my lungs. There was no escape anymore. I was already gone. Wow. Oh man, Yoshiki's just kind of standing there like, what? That sucks. Ugh. Sure, I'll save the system data, and now I'm gonna catch up to that point, like a boss. Okay, here we go. Wow, it's really trying to pull me in. can't get out. Damn, that was close. Kishinima grabbed onto my arm and tried to pull me free from the object. But within its depths, there was a little girl with black eyes, and she was staring right at us. It's her. That's a creepy image. Oh, I can speak normally now. The sight was unnerving, but he didn't flinch for long. He continued pulling, desperately trying to free me from becoming part of this pillar's makeup. Brutal. That really is creepy. Sachi just, like, her face is just in there looking at us. Like, ugh. Yeah, we're done with this room. God, that's brutal. Ugh. Man, these pillars are getting more and more diabolical. I'm afraid to see the sixth.
石は結晶は拾えたか。
これ。さっきの柱の結晶よ。
Victory. What do we have now? Honor, justice, and victory. I'll take it. Oh. Kisaragi Academy, Class 2-9, just prior to morning homeroom. I entered the classroom, school bag in hand, and beeline directly for Naomi. From the look on her face, she'd been waiting for me.
Satoshi, ohayo.
Ohayo, Naomi. どうだった？篠崎は。
Naomi shook her head.
委員長の家に行ってきたら、一昨日の夜からいなくなってるって。どうしよう。やっぱり何か起きてるんだ。
Yeah. Her voice quivered. No doubt memories of our time in Heavenly Host were resurfacing for her, just as they had been for me. And my news was no better, unfortunately.
隣の人にも聞いてみたが、物音がしなかったから昨日は帰ってきてないんじゃないかって。
そんな、やめてよ。やだよ。もう友達いなくなるの。
Naomi had her face completely buried in her hands at this point.
よしきの話だと、篠崎が天神賞絡みで危ない目に遭っているみたいだけど、あそこはもう存在しないはずだし、どこで何をやっているんだ。よしき、篠崎。
In my worry, I did what I often do when trying to clear my mind and looked out the window, staring into the cloudy sky. And suddenly, there it was again. What, the moon eclipse for a second thing? Ugh. There was a solid black spherical object hovering in the sky. You think it's gonna be a giant eye?
空なんか眺めて何してる？ショートホームルーム始めるぞ。
Oh, Yamazaki. Our homeroom teacher, Mr. Yamazaki, entered the classroom with his usual air of authority.
今日は庭先生は病欠ということで、3限の英語は自習だぞ。ほら、お前たち、いい加減席に着かないか。どうした？窓の外に何かあるのか？
先生、あの黒いの見えますか？
ん？
Oh.
なんだありゃ。
Well, well, well. If even the teacher was startled by this, it must be juicy. Or so all the other students seemed to think, as they began to murmur noisily and get up to see for themselves.
何あれ？
Shut up. Freaking Yamazaki, man. Got him good there. Woo! Best natural disaster ever. Naomi and I looked one another in the eye. We were both thinking the same thing. It's the dark side of the moon. Huh, no harm done.
はあ、嫌な予感がするな。この予感は天神症の気配とそっくりだ。
ほら、席につけ。
You know, here's a disturbing thought. I was wondering how the hell Satoshi and Naomi were ever going to get to Heavenly Host. What if they don't? What if their levels are out here? That would be freaking crazy. After classes ended, we took a trip to Polonia Academy High School. We needed something to go on, some kind of clue, anything at all, really, so we just started asking around. Eventually, we encountered a girl who was crying profusely about some friends of hers who'd gone missing. The entire time Mio spoke with us, she was trying to rub the tears from her eyes, and each time she attempted it, it made her ponytail twitch. We'd pledged after our escape not to burden others unnecessarily with information about Heavenly Host, feeling that most people were simply better off not knowing. She was actually grabbing my shirt now, and the tears were pouring from her eyes all over again. Yes. Aiko Niwa, the girl we met at Makina Shinozaki's apartment. She'd seemed calm and confident, even a little full of herself, but somewhere deep down I'd felt there was a chink in her armor, and I think Naomi had felt it too. Yeah, it's fire. But seriously, she actually has a soft spot for her friends.
正直、俺たちも何が起こっているのかわからないんだ。でも、何か分かったら、きっと知らせに来るよ。
Mia rubbed her eyes again, her ponytail perking up once more, and looked up at us with big wet saucers. Out of options, we elected to retry the Sachiko and the Ever After ritual. Oh my god, they actually went for it. Oh, wait a minute! That was our method of ingress. Prologue. You remember what happened to that girl who tried the ritual, right? This is going to be god-awful. Like, god-awful. I hope we don't get any spine action, because that was terrible, and there's nothing you can do about it. With Proxy Doll in hand and my bag of supplies at the ready, the two of us yanked our arms back as hard as we could, splitting the paper in two so that we each held a piece. Wow, they were actually desperate enough to try it.
Ah, 水とカロリービスケット山ほど買っちゃったぞ。
I patted my bag as if demonstrating to Naomi how much was in it. It should have been fairly obvious, though, as the bag itself was practically bursting at the seams. Helicopters flew by overhead, no doubt in response to the mysterious black orb that had appeared in our sky. We watched a flurry of activity above us, and as we glumly left Polonia Academy High School no closer to any answers than we were before. Glancing over at Naomi, I saw the sour expression on her face and tried to imagine why she didn't want to go back home. And it wasn't hard to think of numerous reasons.
Naomi, 今日もクオン先生のところに行くのか？そっか。じゃあさ、俺ん家寄っていかないか？母さんもゆかもお前のこと好きみたいだしさ。
いいの？
Her expression instantly, measurably brightened.
ああ、頼むよ。ゆかを喜ばせてやってくれ。
ありがとう。
We shifted direction slightly and began the relatively short foot trek to my house. It was an ordinary and rather pleasant walk for a while, until Naomi caught the sight of her mother turning the corner up ahead. At the time, I didn't realize that's who it was. She was clasping the arm of a young man sporting a shaved head and a construction outfit, with some sort of insignia emblazoned on the back of his uniform. She was clearly very close to this man, cuddling up to him as they walked, pulling his arm into her bosom and even sneaking a few kisses before the pair disappeared down an alleyway. That's a little weird.
どうした？
なんでもない。なんでもないから。
Well, that's uncomfortable. Her voice had gone up a full octave as she said this. Clearly something was indeed bothering her, but I had no way to know what it was in the moment, and could only take her at her word. And her word was, by all appearances, that everything was fine. She'd more or less closed herself off, outwardly pretending not to have seen a thing. Ugh. Well, if we're loading, then are we going back to gameplay? No. As we drew closer to my house, we slowly began to see a strange light illuminating the area around it. And that area was different than what it had looked like this morning, to say the least. There was now a bamboo wall surrounding my home, and most notably, we now had a hot spring? What? What? What words are there for situations like this? Flummoxed, maybe? Bamboozled?
今朝までこんなものなかったのに。なんだよ、持田の湯って。
落ち着いて、サトシ。とりあえず中に入ってみようよ。
Immediately upon opening my front door, however, we were greeted by a sign reading, "This way to the natural springs."
東京都上空に突然現れた巨大な黒い球体ですが、この後18時から防衛省情報本部より発表があります。
What the hell? We entered the dressing room only to find Yuka, well, with a towel on, despite what the text says, naked.
おかえりお兄ちゃん、ナオミお姉ちゃん。いいお湯だよ。
ゆか。
Yuka was holding a toy goldfish, a towel, and a small beach ball in her hands. Again, she's not that freaking young, come on.
何やってるんだよ。
That's not the question I should have asked, but I was in too much shock for my words to come out the way I meant them to. And Yuka didn't seem to mind. She just smiled back at me, as joyful as I'd ever seen her. Grabbing one of each of our hands, she slid open the glass door in the back and led us into the Mochida Springs proper that we'd been hearing so much about.
兄くん、いやー、なかなかいい湯だね。
Satsuki? Should I know that name? Yeah, who? There was another girl already soaking in the springs, a young girl around Yuka's age spoiling a stylish hairdo. Okay. Weird.
会ったことなかったっけ？ゆかのクラスのお友達、水原さつきちゃんだよ。
Well, there you go. Wait a minute. Was Mizuhara Seiko's last name? I'm not 100% on this one.
よろしくね、兄くん。 おっぱいばっか見ないでよね。まあ厨房の父なんか見ても興奮しないか。プルンプルンプルン。
I'm gonna press X right
そりゃ
now.
ってこらプルンプルンさせるな。
It was official. Nothing made any sense anymore. You are not kidding.
何が一体どうなってるんだ。
Good question.
サトシ、しっかり。
Naomi had grabbed hold of my shoulders as if to keep me upright in case I suddenly decided to faint, which all things considered was probably a sensible precaution. Thank you.
素敵でしょ。
I am getting just progressively more suspicious about Kuon. Like, like, the family's too happy. I don't know. I might be overreacting here, but, like, her name still bothers me. Kuon. I have a Japanese PS2 horror game named Kuon. Like, she's nice, but she's suspicious as hell.
クオン先生。
健康にもいいし、天然の硫黄温泉は霊を遠ざけるのよ。お昼までに作っておいてねって頼んでおいたの。うちの工事事業部優秀でしょ。
I mean, yeah, but what the hell? Also, I'm your student. Could you, like, not?
何勝手にそんなことしてんの。
I pointed my finger at her in an accusatory manner, as was the style at the time.
あら、サトシおかえり。ナオミちゃんもいらっしゃい。
Again, Yuka I can buy, but the mom just being totally in with this, like, it's too easy. I don't like it.
お邪魔してます。
Like, I might be that jerk who was the naysayer, who was wrong the whole time. It really is just what it looks like. But right now, I'm suspicious. Suddenly, I found myself shuddering down to my core as my mom appeared before us, wearing nothing but a bath towel. Could we go to Heavenly Host?
母さん。
Her skin was bright pink, and she seemed to be in very high spirits. By the looks of things, she was in the spring herself until just moments before we arrived, when she'd evidently stepped out to the kitchen to get a very large number of beverages.
あのさ、飲み物取りに行くならちゃんと体拭いてから行けよ。びしょびしょじゃないか。
さあみんな飲んで。やー、ゆかちママ最高。
Yuka mom. Yuka and Satsuki were also in very high spirits. As was Miss Kuon.
ね、みんなでシャメ取りましょう。持田の湯竣工記念よ。みんな並んで。せーチー
Ugh.
ズチーズ。
Satoshi's the best. He's like, Naomi's kind of smiling, and Satoshi's just got nothing. He's like, what? Naomi and I were forced into frame as well. Like it or not, we were now a party to this madness. Wow, somehow Satoshi knew exactly what I was thinking. Naomi kinda did too. Our eyes were basically pinpricks at this point. None of this seemed even remotely real, and neither Naomi nor I had any idea how to react to it. I took the drink my mom handed me, and without even checking what it was, I chugged down a few gulps. I was thirstier than I thought, apparently.
なんだこれ。何味だ。
There was a white, thick liquid inside the milk bottle I was given. It had a faint tint to it when viewed under the right light, but like the flavor, I couldn't quite identify it.
この色、フルーツ牛乳か。
I turned the bottle to read the label. Apparently it was... Until next time, everyone!
先生、この度はこんなに素敵な温泉を作っていただきありがとうございます。もういつでも入りに来てくださいね。あ、これうちの鍵です。
Could I please, for the love of God, go back to Ayumi and Yoshiki?
あら、ありがとうございます、お母様。
母さん。
でも本当にいいんですか？もちろん、持田の湯を作ってくださったのは先生なんですから、年間フリーパスですわ。
母さん。
I agree. Oh my god. Oh my god, are we doing it? Are we doing it? Answer me. Answer me. Are we doing it? I don't think we're doing it. That night, I found myself tossing and turning in my futon. I just couldn't get to sleep for the life of me, so I tossed the covers aside and got up.
風呂入ろう。
This had been the craziest day I could recall. In this world, anyway. Touché. After all the commotion had died down and our many guests had departed, Dad had come home and, predictably, was in the springs right away with a carafe of his favorite sake. I'm not sure we've ever seen Satoshi's dad. And they mentioned Ayumi's parents, plural. I don't think we've ever seen her father either. I had a hard time justifying Miss Kuon's arbitrary actions, not to mention my family's utter willingness to accept them, not to mention that which I will not mention, but in the end I had to admit the hot spring was pretty nice. The rest of my family was all still sleeping, so the house was dead silent. I took off my clothes in the dressing room and slid open the glass door, and there, sitting on the edge of the spring, completely uncovered, was Miss Kuon. Why won't this scene end? God damn it! My face instantly turned bright red. She was a fairly attractive woman after all, so being alone with her like this was kind of inappropriate. Though looking at her now, entirely exposed as she was, revealed to me that this shapely woman wasn't quite as shapely as I'd assumed. Her body was abnormally, worryingly thin. She was the definition of gaunt, looking every bit the part of an infirmed elderly woman from the neck down. Unnerving. And I could have sworn I caught a slight glint from the corners of her eyes. Yeah, this is the part where we leave. Believe it or not, I actually like where this is going, because it's getting more traditionally creepy and less that kind of creepy. She didn't seem to notice me, so I was half tempted to slide the door closed and pretend this had ever happened. But no, I had to do the stupid thing and get involved with this.
Sensei.
Her face is still normal. Despite the fact that I was a much younger man, and her student, no less, she made absolutely no effort to hide her nakedness. In fact, she actually seemed a little excited to be seeing this. Oh my god, for God's sake.
なんでうちの風呂に入ってるんです?
I could ask you the same, Satoshi, but more importantly, could we please go back to Heavenly Host?
ごめんね。起こしちゃったかな。
いえ、そんなことはじゃなくて。ナオミはどうしてるんですか?
うちでぐっすり眠ってたわ。今日もお家に連絡を入れたら、中島さんのお母さん少し落ち着かれていたみたい。
よかった。
I was legitimately relieved. But I was also having trouble concentrating on the conversation. It took every ounce of focus I had to avert my eyes from the things I knew I shouldn't be staring at. You know, here's a weird question at this point, but it mentions, and you can see, that she's gaunt, and yet she was able to just pick Satoshi up like he's nothing and plop him in a chair to give him a quiz. Again, what is Miss Kuon's deal?
先生、隠してよ。
Ah, Satoshi, my man.
あ、そっか。ごめんね。
Please don't tell the principal. She immediately got up from her spot and dunked herself in the water up to her neck. Due to its mineral content, this was a very effective means of at least partially obscuring her body.
ねえ、サトシ君こそそんな格好で寒くない？早くお湯に浸かりなよ。
Wow. I have a much better idea. I panicked at the realization that I too was completely naked right now. I covered myself with my hands and could feel the blood rushing to my face, turning me what I was quite certain must have been an incredible shade of red. Recovering as best as I could from that embarrassment, I stepped into the water, choosing my spot carefully so as to put some distance between myself and Kuon. I don't like this, but it's the best he can make of the situation.
先生、今泣いてた？なんかそんな気がしてさ。気のせいならいいんだけど。
あのね、時間が止まったらいいのになって思って。
Eh.
ねえ先生、どうしてこんなことを？
Oh, I didn't do this. The spring just came here.
SP の警護とか温泉とか、なんか俺の常識を超えててさ、気になりだしたら全然眠れなくなって。
知りたいのは理由かな、それとも私の素性？
You know, that's actually a very good question. Believe it or not, I wanted the first question, but I'll go with the second for this one.
と
Both would be nice, I thought.
理由はね、守りたいから。それで
Okay.
守る？
She did make that clear before, to be fair. She said to want to make people happy.
そういえば私の素性ってクラスのみんなには話していなかったっけ？
Oh, please.
ええ、まあ。
Oh, actually, that's a good point. Because we came back in the middle of the year having thought we had Miss Yui, so we canonically were with Miss Kuon, but we have no memory of it. So we really don't know who she is, and she thinks we do. So that's actually pretty interesting.
私ね、以前はとある企業の会社役員だったんだけど、会長になった後、どうしても諦めきれなかった昔からの夢だった教師になったの。
企業の会長だからこんなに資金力があるのか。あの飲み物もそれじゃあ先生の会社の庭味って。
Yeah, I kind of wish he didn't ask that question. I would almost rather assume the worst, and maybe I'm wrong, than have it confirmed for me.
ええ、うちの商品よ。
Oh, thank God. Maybe she's lying, but oh, I feel so much better.
ゆかちゃんみたいに牛乳かヨーグルトかフルーツ牛乳かコーヒー牛乳か迷っちゃう子が全部の味を楽しめるようにって作ったの。
It is crazy how much better I feel right now.
はあ、なるほど。
Wow, much better.
これで悩みも解決でしょ？
You know what? Yes, it's fine. I'm good.
先生の考え方って理にかなってて正しいのかもしれないけど、発想が前のめりすぎだよな。
I scratched my head.
ああ、いや、カレーのことを思い出してました。
カレー？
She seemed genuinely confused. I guess to her, the idea of feeding me pre-chewed curry was just another stroke of brilliance, maybe? Not at all something that might keep a poor high school boy like myself up at night.
それにしても、クオン先生って一体いくつなんだ？
248. I really wanted to know, but couldn't bring myself to ask something so rude of a lady, even if I'm sure she wouldn't have minded. The more I thought about it, though, the more intrigued I was by this enigma. I began shiftily turning my gaze toward her in short intervals, examining her body for clues. Ah, dude. Her face had the texture and hue of a woman in her early 20s, but her body was another story. All of her skin was as smooth and beautifully toned as that of her face, but there was so little behind it, ribs fully exposed in every detail. Even down toward her abdomen, I could make out round indentations where her internal organs were practically jutting out. There was no muscle, no fat, just skin and bones, literally. Her proportions didn't match up with one another. She was like a construct built out of spare parts. I felt almost as if this person soaking before me weren't even entirely human. Miss Kuon suddenly let out a mischievous giggle. Crap, did she catch me staring?
何ですか？
私ね、君たちの副担任になった初日のこと忘れられないの。
That's a shame, because technically we forgot it. My memory there was obviously a lot different from hers. Kuon Niwa wasn't even a part of it. The TA who showed up that day, in my mind, was and always would be Yui Shishido. I could still vividly remember her tripping up the step up to the teacher's desk and tearing her skirt. She had to hold the rear of it together with a safety pin for the entire day. And even though we were now living in a different reality, a world without Miss Yui, Shinohara, Suzumoto, or Morishige, we had no memories of the alternate events from this existence. Okay, so if it's Shinohara, then I guess Satsuki is not related to Seiko. My fault. I was afraid of this. She did telegraph this in chapter, 2, but... My mind went completely blank. My eyes were swimming in my head, and I couldn't even see straight from the heat of the water. I had to have misunderstood her. And who knows? Maybe I misunderstood her too? Maybe we all just misread it? Maybe that's what happened. Maybe we're good.
何がですか?
Not with whom, with what? Miss Kuon smiled widely, and her cheeks turned a rosy red hue. But only for a split second. Then she was back to looking wistful again. Pangs of undue guilt and dread began to well up inside of me. I knew what the next word out of her mouth was going to be. Miss Kuon was almost like a mass of innocence as she spoke that single word. Her eyes locked onto mine and froze them solid. I couldn't look away.
やだな、冗談はやめてくださいよ。風呂上がったらちゃんと自分の家に帰ってくださいね。あと近いです。
I was dumbfounded. I immediately and very quickly got out of the bath and headed for the dressing room. This was all just too weird. Oh yeah, by the way, see you in class tomorrow. I looked back at Miss Kuon, and unsurprisingly, she seemed almost deflated. She was looking down at the water in a state of utter dejection. I turned to face her, still feeling a strange mix of guilt and awkwardness, but allowing the guilt to dominate for a moment.
先生。
冗談じゃないのに。
After saying this, she closed her eyes and turned bright red, and I was pretty sure it wasn't from the heat. Despite her physique, she seemed like a schoolgirl in that moment. I began to waver in my convictions. I felt like I had to justify not returning her sentiment. Well, how about there's like a 10-year difference between us?
だって俺、先生のこと何も知らないし。
She twitched a little at this. Had I gone too far? Was I supposed to know more about her in this reality than I actually did? Good question. After the longest few seconds in recent memory, her head drooped and a look of absolute sadness washed over her face. I'd never seen her like this before.
しまった。
I didn't mean to hurt her. She had to have known that. But what she didn't know, and what I couldn't really explain, was that I'd only been a part of this reality for a very, very short time now, so I genuinely didn't know anything about her. I tried to think of a way to convey this to her, but my mind kept drawing blanks. It was all just too absurd, too fantastical, too implausible.
先生、
いいの。びっくりさせてごめんね。
Oh man, this is awkward and a half. She slowly turned her back to me. Part of me was relieved by her acceptance, I guess, but another part of me was still absolutely riddled with guilt. There was a moment of silence, and then Miss Kuon's white waterproof wristwatch broke it with a sudden loud beep. All the sadness in her expression gave way to surprise as the numbers on the watch's display, which I realized now hadn't changed this whole time, began counting down. I felt almost as if I'd been saved by the bell, so to speak, and forced a small laugh, hoping that this interruption might help move the topic away from me.
先生、その時計何？なんか測ってるの？
She smiled.
研究よ。カウントは止まっていたんだけれど、また動き出したわ。
カウント？研究って、ああ、会社の？
そう。
There was something about the smile of hers that was strangely haunting. It would come to leave a lasting impression on me.
さて、それじゃあ私帰るね。今日はサボっちゃったけど、明日は学校行くから、また明日ね。
Wow, that's creepy. So she took the day off for this. Like, awkward.
先生。なんか、先生のおかげで、ナオミもユカも、 すごく元気になってます。
よかった。
多分俺もよしきも篠崎も。ありがとうございます。
Thank you for healing my friend's wounds in this strange new world, is what I was trying to convey, and somewhere deep down I think the sentiment got through.
嬉しい、そう言ってもらえて。私こそありがとう、サトシ君。
Careful now. With that, she slowly and meticulously waded her way to the edge of the spring,
しゃ、
at which point she stepped out of the water directly in front of me. Yeah, whoops.
だから隠してくださいってば。
やだ、ごめん。
Yeah, you should be. God damn, could we... I've asked this a long time ago. Could we go to Heavenly Host? Please, 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 please. Maybe? Maybe? Are we doing it? Oh, yes. Oh my goodness. That was awkward. I'm stopping the installment. Now. Well, we certainly made a lot of progress today. We managed to get the third crystal of 6, all within Chapter 4. Congratulations to us. And then, wow, Kuon. I had figured that she was in love with Satoshi when she told Aiko I'm in love with somebody. And when she ran into Satoshi later, she said, ooh, I was thinking of you because reasons. But my god, that, whoa, wow. I don't know where this is going, but I kind of hope they put a stop to it because, number one, it's goddamn distracting. Number two, Naomi was here way first. Number three, like, it's just taboo. You shouldn't. I am, though, admittedly curious as to why Miss Kuon is so gaunt. What is the deal with that? I don't know. Like, that's probably going to come back later, but I am intrigued. Is she like a spirit? I don't know what's going on. She's overly strong. She's gaunt. She's in love with Satoshi? I don't get it. Why Satoshi? Why Satoshi? I don't understand. We're back in Heavenly Host now, though, so let's see what we can do back in reality. Even if it's not reality, it's more realistic than freaking this. Until next time, everyone.